So there's a joke I've been workshopping for the past 4 years or so. Let me know what you think of it. You ready? You clenched? Here goes. 81 million votes. What? It's the safest, securest punchline ever, and if you don't laugh, you're a threat to comedy. In a week of political conventions and foiled Fed plots, where Trump was faster than a speeding bullet and Biden leapt over tall pebbles in a single bound, whatever the outcome of Secret Service inquiries and CNN stink pieces, whatever the result of an election that'll doubtless be double fortified with calcium and copium, can we just pause and process what a profoundly piss-poor stretch of time the past month has been for Biden and his monoparty puppeteers? It began with a debate so bad it's an honorary entry in the Faces of Death franchise. Trying and fully failing to debate every subject under the sun, a body blow or two aside, Biden more or less bumbled his barely intelligible ass through transparently prepared remarks fed to him through one of the most obvious earpieces ever made, with all the coherence of Porky Pig on NyQuil. You could have ended the immigration portion in 5 seconds by asking Biden to point to Mexico on a map. Really, the one true surprise, beyond Biden remaining upright for the duration, was that the topic of gun control going virtually undiscussed, depriving us all of the umpteenth utterance of the phrase, buy a shotgun. You know, for a guy who hates guns, Biden's buckshot obsession runs deeper than the crack of Oprah's ass. Every shooting, every proposed inevitably defeated gun control measure subsequent to said shooting, he's there to recommend we forego functional modern firearms and instead imbibe in a 12-gauge. What do you think, the entire country's a depressed grunge singer? You know the rest. Blathering spasmodically through a litany of trite attacks that invariably failed to land, and statistics so flagrantly fabricated CNN actually had to fact-check their own candidate. The debate decimated Joseph Robinette Biden, and it did so in the grandest stage possible, the first of 3 debates. You know, the one everyone actually watches.
It's better than when he left office, and I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look,
making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Look, I covered the Biden debate debacle live as it metastasized, and I'm proud to say over 10,000 members of the Razor Force joined my jaw on the floor live. And if you want my more detailed analysis of that ignominious event, the VOD is up on this channel, at least until the bombs drop. In the aftermath, Biden's support and even about 90 million of his campaign funding imploded overnight. And at the same month's big boy press conference was intended to allay the insecurities of vacillatory donors, well,
the president will hold a press conference, I guess a big boy press conference is what we're calling it.
Where the access to that market was enticing enough to get companies to come in because they had access to over 1 billion people in a market, not 1 billion, but a lot of people in the market. I'm going to go to South Korea. We're going to get the chip. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
And just like that, one bad night turned into one bad month. Just a little stutter turned into explosive verbal diarrhea, and the most popular president ever and victim of cheap fakes was spontaneously and inexplicably hurled beneath the bus by the lion's share of the Democratic donor class and even his celebrity supporters, such that Biden was forced at the very same press conference to literally float the suggestion of Kamala Harris as acting president. At least I think it was Kamala Harris.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
You referred to Vice President Harris as Vice President Trump. Right now, Donald Trump is using that to mock your age and your memory. How do you combat that criticism from tonight?
Listen to him.
This concludes tonight's press conference.
A few moments later.
Now I want to hand it over to the President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
Sleep tight, America. But that really gets the old peanut percolating, don't it? I mean, you'd think the man who accrued the largest single vote tally in human history, who outdrew Obama for the black vote in Detroit in the safest, securest election ever, utterly above even the suggestion of a full forensic audit and reproach, would be a man whose popularity is without precedent, such that the very suggestion he would even be vaguely replaceable should rise to the level of the hallucinatory and the absurd. If you can contort your cranial matter into a circuitous enough pink pretzel to even be capable of conceiving something similar to this, it'd be like if we replaced Obama midway through the 2012 election, or swapped out Clinton while he was halfway through boofing Bob Dole and his cadaverous crank, and act equal parts abstruse and mystifying, and yet here we sit in stymied silence as well over half of the DNC donors suggest or downright demand we replace a president many times more popular than either of the aforementioned, who somehow has yet to register even half their approval ratings, and the only alternative is, well...
The point about progress is to have the ability to have a vision and a belief and some faith in what can be, unburdened by what has been. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know? What can be, unburdened by what has been.
What can be, unburdened by what has been.
What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been.
When Biden abrupted halfway through the debate and apparently unbidden that he had a cold that if his behavior and voice is any indicator, he's been unable to shake in the intervening month, you knew things were getting bowling shoe ugly. Gosh, where's a gas stove when it's time to cook up a new excuse, Joe? But when the carefully crafted coat from the team of trained puppeteers that operates the Palooka Joe animatronic in the aftermath said he simply had a bad night, I knew. Dude was donezo! The operative issue with the one bad night narrative isn't that it's wrong. It's that it's entirely too factual. Oh, it was one bad night, all right, but the problem with that one bad night is that it reframes and contextualizes 3.5 haggard-ass years of one bad nights. The one bad night when he claims small children would watch his hairy legs turn blonde to the sun.
I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again.
The one bad night when he called out a long-dead congresswoman from the crowd sans a Ouija board.
Representative Governor, Senator Braun, Senator Booker, Representative Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here.
And the one bad night when he did the same for a French politician.
Right after I was elected, I went to what they call a G7 meeting, all the NATO leaders. It was in the south of England. And I sat down and I said, America's back. And Mitterrand from France looked at me and said, you know, how long are you back for?
Huh? The one bad night, the one bad night, the one bad night. What's a good night exactly? A full diaper and a light drool? Biden has more bad nights than a stripper with a C-section scar. No wonder he calls it a night about 4 hours before the sun does. Yeah, we get that he's so old his license plate is in Roman numerals, but so's my pee-pop, and I wouldn't trust him with a button either. Though it would be admittedly hilarious to have a commander-in-chief who still calls the Chinese Celestials. Look, am I going to diagnose him with dementia from afar? No, I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on TV. And despite being a published writer, I'm afraid I don't have an active enough imagination to pretend a body language expert is an actual thing. But is there a solitary circle of this reality where if a aunt, uncle, granny, or the like started a sentence by rambling about the budget, pirouetted into a broken aside about porn star payoffs, then took a labored 2-minute powder to pause and add, Anyway, I beat Medicare. That doesn't end with Gamey shuffling out of the room, followed by every family member uttering in unison, "What the hell are we gonna do about Grandma?" It's not one bad night. If it were, it wouldn't have so calamitously cratered the incumbent's support. Even with a post-assassination attempt, post-VP pick Trump bump, and a big boy press conference, folks, it's not even one bad month. It's far worse than that. In a single evening, after a single press conference, in a single exchange of rooftop gunfire, the carefully crafted mainstream media artifice around kindly Joe Biden and the White House press campaign, priced no doubt in the millions of explaining away every verbal miscue, every decuman dementia moment as a cheap fake, was shattered beyond the remotest hope of salvation, where the moderates momentarily peered through the propaganda miasma, and the most ardent DNC supporters were forced to cringe or cope. In short, it's the moment in the slasher film where the babysitter realized the calls were coming from inside the house. And I wouldn't count on the VP debates ameliorating this impression, where the choice is now between JD Vance and Vi Vance. I'm Razor Fist! Godspeed!
Had a little debate last week. Can't say it was my best performance. We love it, Joe. But ever since then, there's been a lot of speculation. What's Joe going to do?
Death.